Did that one work that I sent you the last one? Or, I mean, obviously last one, but did you
Here we are, home buyer seminar. It must
Patricia,
be Wednesday.
The information too?
It's Wednesday at 5 p.m. I'm Bill Gross. I'm here with my good friend
and colleague Castillo.
And our good friend, Gustavo Segura. He doesn't speak English anymore either. And he's too busy.
Segura, how you guys doing?
Woo! It is a busy time in the market, huh? I got Patricia going to a listing tomorrow of mine. I got Gustavo working on financing on one of my deals. I got a price reduction on a big listing I have.
I got 9 listings.
I got a new list. The property that I gave you leads on, it's another property, Patricia. I got a bunch of offers on that thing. Real estate market is still pretty active. I don't know. I don't see a crash anywhere. Gustavo, do you see a crash on the horizon? I don't see anything slowing down.
No, not at all. No, not at all. And actually, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that because I just sent over to Patricia a couple links so that if you guys want to do a screen share from your side, you'll be able to see what I mean. And there is no crash, like you said. It's actually we are recuperating from low values.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me. I mean, I don't know that, as I tell people all the time, I say I don't have a crystal ball. The truth is I do have a crystal ball. It's right there. It doesn't really tell you anything, though. I have it. It doesn't do anything. But, of course, news can change tomorrow. I mean, I hope we don't have a world war. I hope we don't go to war with China. I hope we don't, a lot of things. There's no way to know if we have another pandemic. But where we sit today, there's plenty of people looking at my houses, and they're paying a little bit more than the last one on the ones that I'm doing. I mean, that's just, you hold your breath on every appraisal, and the last one just came in at the sales price, which was, we had multiple offers that came in over asking. So it's been a busy market for me.
Yeah, and actually May showed an uptick in home sales as compared to, April. There was really not a big change in April, but May there was a slight increase as far as homes sold. So that's good. That just shows the direction that the market is going in. It is staying busy, but also getting more activity as far as sales are concerned.
And so the mortgage market, Gustavo, stays between 6 and 7 towards the high end of that, but still in the same range?
Yeah, I think it is. It's still staying around that. We have some positive news that comes out, but of course, there's always some bad news somewhere that is hurting it. So that's why it kind of jumps up and down day over day. But yesterday, we got the Case-Shiller report and an FHFA report, which shows us that home appreciation has been going up. So over the last 4 months, we are seeing month over month higher appreciation values, which is great because, like you said, there is no slowdown or property values coming down. You're seeing appraisals coming in at the right purchase price. From COVID, we had a slight decrease because of higher interest rates, but then now we have about 4 months now straight of month over month appreciation happening.
Now, it's interesting you say that because I saw that news really changing the market, but I feel like it's a little, I don't say dishonest, but the Case-Shiller data was from April. It wasn't even, June's not over yet. It wasn't May's data yet.
There's a delay on it.
They have a 2-month delay on it. How do they not know the May numbers already? Come on. Come on.
Well, and there's always revisions that happen. There's always revisions that happen as well. So
that too.
Yeah. So
I just feel
they're
like
going through it. Like Zillow came out a little bit earlier.
Do you guys ever see the movie The Sting? It was before I think you guys were born. It was a huge movie in the 70s with Robert Redford and Paul Newman.
I was probably like 7 years old.
I don't think you were born then, but anyhow, there's a term called past posting, where in prior days before technology, before the internet, there'd be off-track betting, like in New York City, and they would use the wire, they would use telegrams to send the race results to the off-track betting, and they would have somebody who would read the results as though they were watching it on radio. And this was a movie in the 70s about the time of the 1920s. when this was the technology of the day. And it was advanced technology. To have a telegraph wire with news was miraculous, to have news travel from, say, upstate New York to New York City. And so the premise of the movie was they got the race results and they held them for like 2 minutes and placed the bets and made money on the difference. I feel like the Case-Shiller report is that. It's like, how do they not know the numbers in May right now? They're putting out the April numbers and completely changes the market, right?
Yeah.
And they don't know the May numbers. Really? Is that what you took? Case-Shiller does not know the May numbers yet? Really? Is that what you were telling me?
Well, the good thing is that
I'm not holding you
there's
to
5
this,
agencies.
Gustavo, but come on. Are they
Oh, no,
playing
no,
you
no,
for
no.
stupid?
No. I, there's definitely something there, but there is a delay, their purchase, right? So I think there may be something up. They want to make sure, and then they take a look at the values and then they confirm. But I was going to say that there are 5 big reports that come out, and all of them are tracking around the same time, meaning Zillow released theirs about 2 weeks ago, and that was their
Right.
April.
Right.
So it's not like they released May already, FA released it yesterday as well, April. So they're all kind of staying within the same time period. At least that's good. It creates consistency.
Well, yeah. So I think overall, I mean, I don't need anybody to tell me that the market's pretty good. I live it every day, right? I have multiple offers on properties. I'm listing consistently. Every listing now, what we've done is we've lowered the sales price, and then we get multiple offers over that list price. It's amazing
Right.
how that works every single time,
Mhm.
right? And I can't get away the numbers yet. A couple I have going, but I have one closing that we lowered the price to $399, and we got offers closing at $405. It's just
Yeah.
I find that routine.
If you start at the top, you're going to end up coming down, right? But if you start somewhere just right at the market value or just a little below, you're going to end up going over where you wanted to be in the first place.
We started at 425 and couldn't get any attention at all. Went to 399, sold at 405. It was just, now I knew it should have sold for 405, not 425, but buyers are very particular about that number.
Right.
But still, when it's priced right, 400,000 was a good number. It's sold for the right price.
Mhm.
So,
I think it also depends on what the loan approval is, because if you have a property listed, let's say in this case, you had a property listed at 425, but you might have buyers that are approved up to, let's say, 400. So if you adjust the price to 399, you're going to capture those buyers that are approved up to 400 as well and get their attention.
right.
And maybe with some negotiation, you're not going to get up to the 425, but you are going to get over the 399. And they might have some reserves in the bank as far as extra cash that they can use outside of, in addition to their loan approval, right? So they can combine their savings that they have with the loan approval and maximize the loan approval for the full amount and still get that property.
The other thing I've seen is that various government programs create a lot of attention, but rarely end up getting the property. I think a month or two ago, they had that state program that sold out like in 12 minutes or something crazy.
Well, there's
With
another one.
We had so many buyers on that program that wrote offers that day that disappeared. And then I've recently had a condo where I had many offers from a City of Los Angeles program. And the buyer who got it wanted to close earlier and pull a bit more money down, and they're closing sooner. They didn't want to wait for the City of LA to reiterate the package. That worked out real well.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you guys end up using that program? It's only offered through the City of LA for properties that are located in the City of LA. Is that what that buyer closed with?
Well, they went to escrow with it, and I hated it, but we got a good price, and the buyer was solid, and the agent was great. Makes a big difference to me if the buyer's agent will help guide a buyer through the process. And so
Right.
I met with her and we talked. I actually had 2 different offers with 2 different agents I thought were really solid. One had a good lender, one didn't. And the good lender finally was able to talk the buyer out of the City of LA program and pull a little bit more money down. And we're closing theoretically Friday or Monday or Wednesday rather than July 15th because we're not waiting for the city program. So that worked out great. So,
Yeah, that's only for the properties located in the City of LA. It's similar to that Dream for All program where there's that shared appreciation with the city.
Mhm.
And I believe that it's a silent second, meaning that the homeowners aren't going to be making any payments on that loan. until the first is paid off. But the city does loan you like $115,000 that you eventually have to pay back when you refinance or you sell the property, just like the Dream for All program. And then a portion of the appreciation of your property also gets paid back to the city.
Which I think it's a good program for the city in that they're getting return for their investment. And it's a good deal for the buyer. The problem is the city has to underwrite the package and it just takes more time. And so in a competitive environment, it's hard to sell. And basically you're saying to a seller, wait an extra 45 days while we have the city review your package. And the city of LA is just a broken city. I mean, everything we do with them just takes too long and is too difficult to get through. And nobody wants to wait. And if you have to, I guess you have to. But it turns out in this case we didn't have to. Hey, if you happen to watch this, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Do you know what that time frame was with the city for them to review?
Nobody does. So that was one of the things that I asked both the agents. One had said I'd never done one before. The other one said she had done multiple, and she actually gave me a couple of properties she had done. The problem is she had done them in the city last year. She had done any this year. And so I couldn't find anybody who had done one in the last 90 days. So nobody knows the time frame, because if you don't do one, you don't know. I was the only approved lender back when I was a lender for a program in the city of Santa Monica called TORCA, which was when they would convert condos to apartments to condos, special loan program the city had. And I was the only one approved to do it. It's very hard to qualify for. You had to make enough money to qualify. To qualify for the loan, the conventional loan, but you couldn't make more than a certain amount to get the TORCA loan. It was a very tough thread. They both had different guidelines. And so you could qualify for one and not the other, or vice versa. And they literally hadn't done one in like the 9 years they had the program. And so it's one thing to have a program, but if nobody's getting it, you don't really have a program. So some of these things are difficult. And I was asking different lenders and through different channels, who's done one of those last 90 days. And I couldn't find anybody who actually closed one. I'm sure they do some. I actually pulled public records of the city of LA liens and tried to find them and figure out who the first lender was. And I put some work into it. I couldn't find anybody I could talk to.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's only an approved lender can work on this program, this lending program. So not all lenders offer this type of a program for the city of LA. You have to fall under that criteria as well.
Gustavo, do you do those city of LA program? I think you've done any?
No, I have not. I looked at the list of lenders and I didn't see any of them with a wholesale division.
Right.
So, for example, I saw on there a couple of them, and they had closed down their wholesale division. So, I didn't see any of them.
Yeah, and the lenders that do those are the banks that have like a retail, meaning you're walking into the branch, which in general in our industry, those are the least experienced loan officers with the less skill and the less incentive to really. They're not making a living. Many of those are on a salary and they get a little bonus for doing a loan versus somebody like Gustavo who lives and dies on his reputation closing deals. And so to take your commission check and your seller's equity and put it in the hand of an experienced loan officer because he works at a big bank, and they haven't, and like I said, one was Bank of America and the other one was some other bank. They hadn't done one in 90 days. So they had no idea how long it would take. And to say to your seller, I don't know when you're going to be able to get your money. Who wants to do that? That was challenging. So if you're watching this live on YouTube or on Facebook or LinkedIn, feel free to put your questions or comments in the chat box. We'd love to have you participate. This is our Homebuyer Seminar. We do it every Wednesday, 5 p.m. And if you watch this on the replay, put your comments in and we'll catch up with you afterwards. Okay, so what else is going on? Patricia, I know I'm keeping you busy.
Yes, and yep, I know I'm busy as well with just buyer demand right now, having a lot of outside, conversations about really structuring their purchase, what it looks like when they're going to get ready to make offers and really just walking them through that whole process. And I think it's also important to explain to buyers that the sellers, outside of the buyer's own world of buying, then the seller has their criteria as well. So they may need to, things may come up that the buyers should know and expect, right? So like you might have, a 30-day closing or a 20-day closing, and maybe the seller's not ready to move yet. So those are things to anticipate. Maybe you're going to have a delay in closing. So if you're renting an apartment, let's say, and you've given notice, that's something to, to think about. So it's really important to keep track of the dates of the transaction, but also keeping in touch and making sure that the buyer is informed of what the seller's criteria is as well. Do they need an extra week after closing? Do they need a few days after closing? Just so that everything lines up for the buyer and the seller as well. So, the last property I sold, for example, in Corona, the seller was wanting 3 days for delivery of possession to the buyer. And on the third day, they were still trying to get a sofa out of there and trying to get some last minute items that they weren't able to take. So I ended up hiring a truck to come and get the stuff out. So, things like that. You want to make sure the buyer's happy throughout the transaction. And, as much as you try to stay on point with the timeline, sometimes those things come up. But I like to explain all of that to the buyers as well so that they know what to expect. This could happen. We're going to try to avoid that, but just so you know, it's something that sometimes comes up.
Well, and I think a well-written contract can protect your buyer. Putting some money, a deposit in escrow, and have a charge every day after a certain day gives the seller some incentive or leverage. I've been a case on the listing side where the seller took time, and I had the buyer's agent calling me, yelling at me, and I said, "I'm not a moving company. I'm a real estate agent. I sold the property. We had a contract. We executed it. Everybody agreed. I got paid. Your buyer and seller need to work that. Your buyer and the seller need to work that out. I'm not involved in it." And the agent was upset. And I said, "Well, you could have written the contract with a incentive clause in there or some other deposit, but we didn't. And it's not my job to advise you how to protect your client. It's my job to protect my client. And I feel bad that they're late, but I'm a human. But it's not my business to tell my seller what they have to do. It's they're grown people, and so those are tough. And I think sometimes in real estate we can get mad at the other person. We really should say, well, what should I have done differently? What could I have done differently to avoid this problem? And I think a good agent, in our case, Patricia, we have the benefit of going into our broker room, and they'll help you craft an agreement that will help you at least create some financial leverage.
Right.
I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a case now where, the buyer wanted a concession from my seller, and my seller kind of felt shaken down, and he agreed to it on the condition they close by the end of the month. And now they're not going to close the end of the month. Do we take the money back? Do we let it go? Those are tough decisions, and you have to write the contract to protect your interests. So
right, absolutely, yeah. You never know what can happen.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. Yeah. So, okay, let's wrap up here. Gustavo, words of wisdom. We have a July 4th weekend coming up. I'm sure there are people who are going to take time off from home buying and shopping. And there are other people who are going to be taking advantage of the weekend to look for properties. So what should a home buyer look for this weekend especially?
Yeah, I think, Friday we could get some good news. And there's a PCE report that's coming out. So that also is going to be tied into inflation. So if that comes out with some good news, which we are expecting, that could lead into some, good news into the market for the rates. I do think there are a lot more people shopping around now. Even from my side, personally, my niece is shopping and she's getting overbid, just like you guys are talking about. She's going over asking, and they're still getting outbid. So activity is tough out there. But she, along with everybody else that I speak with, I tell them it's a lot better to buy now. There's not as many offers, even though it is overbidding, than it is to wait 6 or 9 months when the rates are going to be coming down even more. So definitely get out there, keep looking around, but first, make sure you get your pre-approval. You know exactly how much you can afford and what you can go after. And then, you can start on the fun part, which is the looking at the houses.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. I had on my meme review, I do a real estate humor meme review every Wednesday morning at 8:00. And we had one of the memes was about telling a buyer over and over again how they need to get pre-approved. And then the buyer says, "Hey, the house I was looking for, it's already in escrow. I told you should have pre-approved." So that's how it goes.
Exactly.
Patricia, words of wisdom for buyers and sellers this weekend. Now you're a big listing agent as well.
Right. I think also just commenting off of what both of you might mention right now about just being prepared, having your loan approval, knowing what you qualify for. Don't get too emotionally invested and attached when you go out and see a home. I've seen that happen where I'm hosting an open house and buyers come in and they're super excited, and you can almost see the look on their face like they really they already feel like they're going to buy that house, and so in this
Yeah.
market, you just cannot get emotionally attached like that. You have to really come in with, just an open mind, flexibility, and talk to us to get your all of your ducks in a row, and making sure that when you are ready to make an offer, you are prepared so you can be successful at winning that bid. Because otherwise, you'll, get stuck in that circle where you're just getting outbid and maybe not have all your documentation lined up. So it's really just being prepared and not getting too emotionally invested right when you walk into a home that you absolutely fall in love with. It's hard to kind of keep a little bit of distance there, but making sure you're prepared will definitely help you leverage that.
Well, you guys both should be on my real estate meme review that we do, because one of them, let me just put them up here. One is when the listing agent's present for the showing and your buyer shows too much excitement. Been there. And then the other one, where was the other one here real quick, is, this one we just talked about the importance of getting approved. So I want to buy a house, you tell them to get approved. I know my budget, we should get pre-approved. I'm going to go look at houses. Let's get pre-approved. The house I like sold. You should have gotten pre-approved.
Right.
So this
Absolutely.
is, So anyhow, I do a little humor show. If you're in Facebook, Real Estate Humor is the group that we have these memes in, and feel free to have a laugh about this, because you got to release some of the stress. It's a tough business, stressful for everybody. You got to laugh at it, have some fun with it. So thank you guys for being on the call today. We do this every Wednesday, 5 p.m. I'm Bill Gross. You can see me on social media at Bill Gross EXP. My phone number is there. All of us have our phone numbers. Look at that. All three of us have our phone numbers there. Looking all very professional today.
That's right.
Gustavo, Patricia, have a great weekend. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.
Have a good
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.